Good day. Today is Tuesday, Parshas Achra Mois Kedoshim Dalet Iyah Tovshim Pai Vuv on Edge. My name is Gershy Schwarcz and I will be your host today on Edge with breaking news.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
But first, Hayom Tishu Usar Yom Shaim Shnai Shavias Vachamishu Yumim Lu Oy Met. Today is the Yutzad of Rav Reb Yosef Dov Halevi Soloveitchik Zeichet Tzadik Kudosh Rucha the Beis Halevi. And tonight, High Ear is the Yutzad of my grandfather Harav Reb Shammai Avruam Ben Reb David Leiza Hochberg Zeichet Tzadik Kudosh Rucha. All right, we'll talk about them maybe at the end. Something interesting. Now let's jump into it. Okay, the Iran ceasefire expires tomorrow night, or Trump warns Tehran, we'll talk about it soon. Trump warns Tehran, make a deal or we bomb your bridges. And power plants, he makes that warning, his final 2.0, 3.0 warning again. Israeli strikes wipe out Hamas terrorists, and as well they help the militia in Gaza who's fighting Hamas right now. Apple's Tim Cook steps down after 15 years. 60 nations meet in Brussels to talk about the Palestinians, the peace, without inviting the US or Israel. The British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is facing demands to resign over an Epstein-linked scandal. And Argentina's President Javier Milei visits a famous yeshiva in Yerushalayim at HaKodesh, and there is amazing new news, discovery, I would say, and a discovery made by scientists, medical scientists, today about Parkinson's disease. Baruch Hashem. Wait to hear more, all that and way more, right here on Edge. But first, I do have to, announce the sponsor of today, which is myself. Yes, my name is Gershy Schwarcz. Hi all. I'm offering a course which is very useful for those of you who know what I do. For the last 20 years, Baruch Hashem, I can share it, and I want to share it with, I want to share it with people that are interested. So anyone who's interested, anyone who has a talent and wants to pursue the talent to make some money and to know how to juggle your way through the jungle of AI today, which is amazing and could be very, very useful if you know how to use it, if you know how to control it. Obviously, yes, people are saying and claiming that AI is destroying the world today. Well, I will tell you one thing. I am preparing a very nice episode for you guys about AI, the depth and how it started and where it's going, potentially with a lot of research that I made myself, Baruch Hashem, and we'll present it to you by Ezra Hashem's Baruch in the near future. But before we do continue that, I just wanted to say you should sign up to my course, 845. It's not about AI. I'm just mentioning it, but it's about what I offer is, in the studio and around the studio. 845-671-1775 and press 1 to talk to someone, and they will give you the whole entire deal package. It's happening this Sunday, so Chaparine, limited spots available. All right, let's continue the news, shall we? I know you want to hear the news and not my... Yes, major developments on Israel's front lines this morning. Israeli soldiers killed 2 Hamas terrorists in central Gaza yesterday in 2 separate airstrikes. The IDF says both terrorists posed an immediate threat to the Israeli troops on the ground. The first one was Ayman Hosseina. He was a Hamas weapon maker, the man who built and repaired the guns and bombs used against Israeli soldiers. And the second one was Anas Khaled Safi. The IDF says he was about to launch an attack on Israeli troops. 2 precise strikes from the air, 2 terrorists gone, and no one was hurt, Baruch Hashem there. Okay, now, meanwhile, Israeli strikes across the Gaza Strip also killed at least 5 Palestinians yesterday. Witnesses saw Hamas fighters clashing with Israeli-backed local militias. Now, Hamas basically, they have another problem now. It's not just the Israeli soldiers. Like I said yesterday, if you heard my news, 1 man was killed in the airstrike in the Beroujeh area, a Beroujeh camp, and that's in central Gaza. Another strike killed 1 person and wounded others in Gaza City. All right. Israel told residents of southern Lebanon to stay away from the Litani River. That river runs across the south of Lebanon. The line Hezbollah fighters were supposed to pull back behind. Now, the IDF also told Lebanese civilians to stay out of a belt of land right along the Israeli border. This warning came despite the ceasefire that is still technically in place. Israeli ground troops from the elite commando unit, some commando units, I think it's called Maglan Commander Unit, also destroyed a terror command center that Hezbollah had hidden inside a school in the town of Binj Jabil. It's already the 3rd or 4th time this happened. And in a separate strike, an Israeli drone fired on a vehicle near the Litani River, wounding 3 people. For a ceasefire, right? The Israeli army is destroying buildings in the border belt to clear buffer zone. Basically, Lebanese officials are furious, basically. Nabi Berri, the Speaker of the Lebanese Parliament and head of the Shiat Amal movement, warned Lebanon will never accept the new borderline and threatened future attacks if Israeli soldiers stay in the south. He's actually a Hezbollah member. Rocket and alerts have been heard, or supposedly it was false alarm. that rockets are flying towards northern Israel from Hezbollah. And apparently it is from Hezbollah, and it's a serious threat. And we will see where this goes, because there is a ceasefire in place, as you can imagine. All right, let's talk about why you need a loan when it comes to investing in your future investment, which is real estate. Real estate is a way to invest, which is a trustworthy or reliable way to invest, experts have told me. So, here is the thing. YS Capital Group is not your middleman to the bank. They are your actual lender. Direct lending, fast approvals with no closing costs involved. So you call them today on 718-831-2168 and you mention my name to get a good deal, good rates locked in. All right, let's talk about Trump, shall we? I know you all want to hear about Trump. President Trump has technically added one more day to the extension to extend the ceasefire. Instead of April 22nd, it's going to be April 23. He says it will now end Wednesday evening, tomorrow night, instead of it was supposed to end tomorrow morning. But he's giving them, well, less than a day, I guess. Washington time, which is tomorrow night, like I said. Okay, now, and then he gave Iran a very serious warning. If there is no deal by Wednesday night, the American military goes back to war. Back to the operation of war. Trump said the U.S. will bomb Iranian bridges and power plants. Military officials are also talking about a phase 3 of the operation, which would include seizing Iran's most strategic island, Karg Island, where most of Iran's oil gets shipped out from there, and that's their hub. Trump made it very clear. If the deadline passes with no deal, the fighting starts up again right away, no more extensions, Trump told reporters. And this is word for word, we have a reset going. Now, we are loading up the ships with the best ammunition, the best weapons ever made, even better than what we did previously. And we blew them apart. Now, if we don't have a deal, we will be using them very effectively. Then Trump said something that got a lot of attention. He said, I would have won Vietnam very quickly. I would have, if I were president. The Vietnam War, which America fought for almost 20 years and lost, ended in 1975. Trump was not president in the 1960s. So that one is basically a head scratcher. If he would have, who knows. Meanwhile, the deal on the table is this. America is offering around $20 billion in frozen Iranian funds. Iran's own money that the US froze years ago. If Iran stops enriching uranium, hands them over its nuclear stockpile, and stops funding terror groups, they will get $20 billion. The talks are supposed to happen in Islamabad. Pakistan. Vice President J.D. Vance, along with envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, are supposed to lead the American team. But Vance is still sitting in Washington, waiting for Iran to say yes before he gets on a plane. And according to that, well, Iran, I'll tell you soon, one second. First, let me tell you this specific piece of information. Inside Iran, the regime is split. Iran's supreme leader, who is he, by the way? Or is he? Mustafa Khamenei, right? Approved a negotiating team. But the IRGC, the most powerful military force in Iran, is pushing negotiators to refuse the talks until America ends its naval blockade. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, said Tehran will not negotiate under a shadow of threats. Well, as you can imagine, Trump is not giving in to that. He says the blockade will stay, and we will go to the negotiating table, whether you like it or not. We will not take more or play to your games, in other words. And Vice President J.D. Vance was just told to stay put, and he's not going anywhere. I guess his trip was cancelled because Iran is not interested in making a deal. They have an expiry date, tomorrow night. All right, Trump gives Tehran a Tuesday. Wednesday comes with bombs. Well, that's the final warning. Or point final warning. Final warning. At sea, the Strait of Hormuz is completely shut down. 2 blockades, 1 American, 1 Iranian, and are turning every ship around. Fox News says, by the way, Iran's claim, I did report it here, about sending 20 ships past the US is totally fake and is just made up Iranian propaganda. Over the weekend, the United States Marines boarded and seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship. Now, that basically tried to sneak through. Then they stopped another oil tanker called the Tiffany, which was basically caught, which was previously caught smuggling Iranian oil to Asia. Now, the US is going after every ship tied to Iran to cut off money flowing to the regime. Trump also said American forces caught a Chinese ship yesterday headed towards Iran with weapons. This is just 1 week after China promised the US no more weapon deliveries to Iran. In other words, so much for that promise. Yeah. In response, Iranian forces fired at oil tankers from France, India, and the United Kingdom, like I said yesterday, that tried to cross the strait. The shutdown is hitting every single American at the gas pump. Oil, at natural gas prices, jumped again overnight. To fight it, Trump appointed Peter Navarro to enforce the Defense Production Act, a law from the Korean War that lets the president force American companies to ramp up production. Trump signed orders to speed up domestic oil, coal, and also natural gas. The soaring cost of jet fuel is also hitting the airlines. JetBlue, WestJet, and Alaska Air announced they are cutting flights and pulling their financial forecasts for the whole year. Another tanker, another boarding, another $1 on your gas bill. Over the weekend, Iranian leaders refused to talk with the US at all. This morning, an Iranian official said Tehran is positively reviewing its participation in the talks, but only if its conditions are met. Now, what are those? Iran's main condition? Keep the right to enrich uranium, which, if you've been following, is exactly the thing Trump is trying to take away. So this is not really a yes, it's a maybe, dressed up as a yes. Former Mossad chief Yossi Cohen, who has a book, by the way, an interesting book, about all the operations that he partook in the Mossad. The Israeli spy who won in 2018 snuck into Tehran and stole thousands of papers and CDs, proving Iran was secretly building nuclear weapons. Gave a sharp warning this week. Cohen said Iran's goals have not changed. Not in 8 years, not after sanctions, and not after war, not after peace talks. He said Iran will keep hiding, keep lying, and keep trying to build the bomb. Israel, he said, must never drop its guard. His message is simple. Don't trust Iran. They will keep trying to trick the world. The spy who stole Iran's secrets has a one-word warning. Don't. The United States may ask Lebanon to cancel its 1955 Israel boycott law, a Lebanese law almost 70 years old that bans any Lebanese company or citizen from doing business with Israel and bans Israeli goods from entering Lebanon. If the law is removed, it would be a huge step. It could open the door to long-term security deal between Israel and Lebanon, and maybe even a real peace agreement. That's something that hasn't been on the table since before most of our listeners were even born. All right, now, Israeli intelligence has also uncovered a large Iranian backed terror group targeting Israeli officials and Jewish locations around the whole world. The IRGC sleeper cells are now waking up and expanding across Europe. British police are already investigating a string of arson fires and at Jewish-owned locations and businesses in London. Fire investigators now believe that these incidents are basically directly tied to the Iranian network, after a post put out by the Shomrim of Northwest London. All right, Palestinian detainees are accusing Israeli soldiers of serious mistreatment and harassment. Now, this is obviously propaganda spread by Iran and Iran's friends to make it look very bad, and because these statements have been recorded and only taken from these detainees, these prisoners themselves, who are in fact murderers, people who either committed crime and terror attacks across Israel and hurting and killing our Jewish brothers and sisters over the course of the years. And most of them are actually civilians that were caught in the October 7th attack. They came in, they crossed the border, and they tortured and killed people. One of them proudly calling his father, saying, "I killed a Jew." So they're complaining now. Anyway, let's continue. After 2 years of fighting in Gaza, rebuilding the Strip will cost around $70 billion. President Trump's Board of Peace, the American committee set up to handle post-war Gaza, is now meeting with a company in Dubai, to manage the rebuilding. The plan is for this one company to control all the food and aid coming into Gaza and to run the new building projects. No Hamas, no UN, just Dubai and Washington. We regret to share with you the Petira of Reb Berish Oyelbach, Zechron Levrucha. He was 105 years old and he was a Holocaust survivor. 105 years old. He was born in 1920. Reb Berish was raised in a home of warmth and Torah. He was one of the last Yidden smuggled out of the Warsaw Ghetto. Just before Pesach, in the spring of 1943, he made it out. Baruch Hashem, most of the ghetto didn't. Reb Berish eventually settled in Australia, where he became a beloved member of the Caulfield Beis Medrash in Melbourne. 105 years old, a boy out of the ghetto, a Yid who lived to see his great-grandchildren, and he was nifta yesterday in a local hospital after suffering a heart attack. We offer our sincerest condolences from here on Edge to his family, obviously. Well, he lived a beautiful long life, 105 years. A Warsaw Ghetto survivor. Yehi Zichrei Buruch. May his neshama have an aliyah be made a for us, for all of us down here. He can see what's going on today. Well, he saw, and he's obviously carrying the message. More than 60 countries sent representatives to Brussels yesterday for a Palestinian peace conference hosted by the European Union. Delegates met with Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa to talk about long-term stability in Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. The EU organized the conference to push its way back into the Middle East diplomacy. The small detail missing from the meeting, well, Israel. Nobody from Israeli government was even invited. Talking about peace with a state, but without the state. In a separate meeting yesterday, the European Union talked about possible punishment measures against Israel. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaya Kallas said that EU countries will look at their cooperation agreements with Israel and decide whether to cut it back. Spain is leading the push, obviously, as you all know. Madrid wants to suspend its trade deal with Israel completely. Over 1 million Europeans have already signed a petition demanding this same. Brussels looking for the exit door. Well, we'll see who it hurts more. Amnesty International, a non-profit, says it fights for human rights, released a new report putting Israel, Russia, and the United States in the same sentence. The group said all three have a vision without a moral compass and are assaulting the very foundations of the universal human rights. So, a country defending itself after October 7th, a country that invaded Ukraine, and the country paying for both of their defense equipment, same paragraph, I guess. That's the moral and the direction the Europeans are going. Speaking of moral and the way directions are going, you can all obviously tell from the next piece of news what I'm going to tell you. Hungary's new Prime Minister-elect, Peter Magyar. I think it's Peter, the way you pronounce it in Hungary, is Peter Magyar. Officially, or Magyar, whatever it is, officially invited Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to visit Hungary, and then immediately threatened to arrest him if he shows up. Magyar first invited Netanyahu to attend Hungary's 70th anniversary celebrations of the 1956 revolution, and then, in the same breath, Magyar announced he is reversing his predecessor's order to leave the International Criminal Court. He warned that Hungary will detain any visiting head of state who has an active international arrest warrant. He didn't specifically name Benjamin Netanyahu, but that specific reference basically to the one specific person. In other words, we all know what this means. In other words, Hungary says, come visit, you're invited. Also, by the way, we'll arrest you. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing demands to resign over political scandal. It started when Starmer appointed Peter Mandelson as Britain's ambassador to the United States. Mandelson, who had past ties to the late Mr. Epstein, failed his government security check. Starmer claims his staff hid the failed result from him. Critics say it's a cover-up. Starmer already fired Ollie Robbins, the top official in the Foreign Office. Robbins is set to testify in front of Parliament today, where he is expected to say the Prime Minister's office pressured him to push the appointment through anyway. 10 Downing Street, one cover-up, now hiring. Argentinian President Javier Milei visited Yeshivas Chevra in Yerushalayim HaKodesh yesterday. Milei is in Israel on diplomatic trip and just launched a new alliance with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the Isaac Accords. He was joined by his personal rabbi and Argentinia's ambassador to Israel, Reb Shimon Axel Vanish. I once had a Chavrisa named Vanish, by the way, just saying. Hundreds of students, it's not a common name, but yeah. Hundreds of students and the Rosh Hashiva Hagun Reb David Kohen Shlita warmly welcomed the President Javier Milei during a special reception. A Kabbalas Punim, Rosh Hashiva Hagun Reb Yosef Chevroni Shlita presented Milei with a traditional Torah crown. Milei spoke to the gathering and shared his deep respect for the Jewish people and for the Torah. And now, a new European survey says more than 40% of Jews across Europe experienced anti-Semitism in the past year alone. Insults, threats, discrimination, harassment at work. Because of it, many Jews are hiding their religious symbols in public. Some are thinking about leaving Europe altogether and moving to Israel. Community leaders warn that anti-Semitism on the continent is getting worse and not better, and the governments aren't keeping up, and they're not there to obviously protect them. Well, obviously not. Now, if you want some chizik in this area, my friends, I urge you to go and watch my episode with Harav Reb Gershy Markovich. It will change your entire vision of everything you have thought of until now, especially my European Jewish friends, my brothers and sisters in London. Please watch and listen to Reb Gershy Markovich's Shmis with me, which happened on Chol Hamoed Pesach, and I put it out on my Spin the Edge. You can find it, Harav Reb Gershy Markovich. Go check it out, listen to it. It's worthwhile listening to. Trust me. You will thank me later. Okay. It's a lesson for life. Now, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar also spoke out about a rising anti-Semitism this time, focusing on Yidden living outside of Israel. Saar said foreign governments have to work harder to stop the spread. Well, nice to say it. He pointed to the attacks in London, New York, Paris and Berlin over the past year. On the London Underground, a driver on the Bakerloo line is now suspended after a recorded incident. A passenger...
Is it safe for Jews to ride the Bakerloo line? Hey? Is it safe for Jews to ride the Bakerloo line, do you think? Not when I'm driving. No. Not when you're driving.
Verstehst? Not when he's driving. Passenger was caught on camera asking the driver... Well, driver was caught on camera when a passenger asked him over the intercom whether Jews were safe riding on the Bakerloo line, and the driver answered, well, not the intercom, it was actually over the video, sorry about that. It's a mistake in the script, yeah? And which basically... in other words, he said to him, he made it clear that not when he's driving. Unbelievable. Transport for London suspended the driver. Jewish community groups across Britain strongly condemned his comments. Now, at least 40 Israeli citizens were detained and questioned at Moscow's Domodedovo. Okay, let's pronounce it right, okay? Domodiedovo Airport. See, now I can pronounce it. Domodiedovo Airport over the weekend, and Russian security officers asked them about the war with Iran and held them back for 5 hours. No food, no water, no access to a bathroom, and some were reportedly told, any enemy of Tehran is our enemy as well. With pressure from the Israeli Foreign Ministry, all 40 passengers were eventually released. Their entry into Russia was approved, and the Foreign Ministry called the whole thing completely unacceptable. Baruch Hashem, they're all out now. Apple announced yesterday that Tim Cook is stepping down as Chief Executive Officer after nearly 15 years running the company. Starting September 1st, the current head of hardware engineering, John Ternus, will take over. It's pronounced Ternus? Will take over as the new CEO. Cook will stay on as executive chairman of the board. When Cook took over from Steve Jobs in 2011, Apple was worth about $350 billion. Today, it's worth over $3 trillion. He didn't invent the iPhone, well, but he made it the most profitable product in human history. It's actually very cheap, by the way, it's very affordable. Alright, the United States Supreme Court officially struck down Trump's tariffs, meaning the government now has to refund $166 billion to American businesses. The government launched an online refund portal yesterday to process the payments. Several large retail stores are already in line to receive their money back, though some small businesses are running into delays in the application process. FBI Director Kash Patel filed a $250 million defamation lawsuit against the Atlantic magazine. Now, the lawsuit is over an article in the magazine that ran Friday accusing Patel of alcohol abuse and unexplained absences from work. Patel denies the claims and called the article a hit piece. The Atlantic says it stands by its reporting. Senator Chuck Schumer jumped in and called Patel a risk to American national security. All that from the emails that were leaked from the Iranian hack. President Trump's Secretary of Labor has also resigned, Lori Chavez de Riemer. Lori de Riemer basically stepped down after the Labor Department's Inspector General opened an ethics investigation into her office. The FBI is also running a major investigation into 11 now, yesterday I said 10, 11 top American scientists who are either dead or were killed or missing. All 11 worked on sensitive government projects with classified information. Representative James Comer, head of the House Oversight Committee, is bringing in the heads of the agencies where the scientists were worked for questioning now to see what happened and why they disappeared. A mass shooting at a famous tourist pyramid in Mexico has left at least 2 Canadian tourists dead. The attack happened yesterday at the ancient Teotihuacan site, which is near Mexico City. Sorry, I'm not familiar with these names, so I do pronounce it very, very uneducated, right? I'm joking. Video posted online shows a man holding a gun at the top of the pyramid of the moon, and officials say between 4 and 13 people were hit by gunfire and 2 more tourists were injured when they fell off the pyramid running away. Police have not said anything about a motive yet. Bulgaria has a new government, a former fighter pilot named Rumen Radev. He just won the national election with 87% of the vote counted. His Progressive Bulgaria party has officially secured a majority in the country's parliament, bringing a new pro-Russian voice into the European Union. A good friend of Putin, obviously. Tondo Smart, it's called Tondo Smart, is an Israeli startup that basically has built a new technology that can spot drones before anyone else sees them. It's a mix of artificial intelligence, AI, and obviously Israeli defense technology. Originally built for the battlefield, now it's being looked at for regular city use to track low-flying delivery drones, security drones, and event drones all at once. Tests show the system can handle big cities like Los Angeles, which has already hundreds of drones flying around every single day for delivery, security, and sports events. Another quiet win for Israel. Now, scientists have made a major discovery about Parkinson's disease. The brain disease, that slowly takes away a person's ability to walk, speak, and move. Researchers found, it makes them shake, obviously, very, very, very sad. Researchers, my grandfather actually suffered from this, not the one that's outside today, my father's father. Now, researchers found that they can spot people with a high risk of developing Parkinson's just by looking at the bacteria in their stomach. Changes to the gut show up long before any physical symptoms appear. Doctors now hope this early warning system can help them build new treatments that stop Parkinson's before it even starts. A real piece of good news, Baruch Hashem. May all of you have a Refi Shalema. Whoever does have this and suffer from this should look into this. And I don't know if they're going to develop, now they might know ways to go and treatments to go about this, because we all know there is not much treatment going on there. Okay, anyway, before we step away from today's news, I would say one thing. Time to get a little bit Protobyte on your side. Protobyte is there for you when you need to, build custom-made software. They have a whole list of features and things that you might need that you never knew that you needed, and they can build it for you. Okay, so call them today on the number is 347-354-1237. And then you need Kliga on your side when you need all the communication in one place. 845-335-3343. Communication in one inbox. Now, Arrive Express is there for you when you need to book a taxi. 845-622-1111 or 845-254-1111. Or go into arrivemuncie.com to download the app, the most reliable taxi service in Muncie. And might I add as well, my course is happening by Zershemesburg this Sunday, so Chaparine, get your limited spots available. Get your spot, book it right now. Call 845-671-1775. Press 1 to speak to somebody and they will sign you up. All right, my friends. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and we'll see you. Oh, I forgot. I know I promised I'm going to talk about my grandfather. Oh, so my grandfather, Reb Shammai Avrum Hochberg, for those of you who don't know who he was a Ish Talmud Chacham, and he was doctor. He was known as Dr. Shammai Avrum Hochberg. Why was he known as doctor? Because he was a refugee from the war, obviously, from the Second World War. He came to England, and in England, if you wanted to get refuge, you needed to serve the army, the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force, obviously, which is where he obviously worked for. He was an engineer there for them, now for the RAF. And that being said, his Rebbe, Rebbe Eli Lopian, Dayan Lopian, what a great man he was, and he was the chavris of my grandfather. Both of them tzaddikim and frum, unbelievable people. Now, he obviously learnt with him, and he said to him, listen, go, you need to do this, but don't forget Torah, Torah, Torah every single day. And that's exactly what he did. He went to Imperial College, and every single day of his life, he did not forget to learn a word, every single day. He gave Shi'irim Gemurah there for people. He gave lectures and then gave Shi'irim Gemurah until his very last day. He passed away during Menuchas time. It was long Menuchas now, my friends. He was a great man. I'm going to light a candle in his name tonight. Tonight's the Yotzat. And, do something kind and nice in his name, obviously. He's my grandfather, so it's meaningful to me, and I'm sharing it with you. So have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day. This is him, obviously. You can see. I think somebody took AI to make him move. I don't think that's really... It's a still picture. I know that picture's hanging in my parents' house. All right, I remember him. So it's not long ago that he passed away. I think about 16 years ago. Okay, my friends, have yourselves a wonderful day. We'll see each other Be'ezer Hashem Yisborach tomorrow.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.